is. And some of the stuff, and I guess if you're still on web before we cut to cable, is some of the stuff we may mention on the newscast may be a little bit redundant if you follow the site a lot, because we're also simulcasting to a cable audience that may or may not have access to the site.
Exactly.
If they depends in so you may hear us mention and reference stuff that you may have seen, but it should be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're actually hearing people are watching us.
Yes, that's always a good sign.
It is a good sign. Yeah. And we are, let's see here, let's look at a touch more stuff.
And our television audience
should be joining us right about now.
Exactly.
So we'll give them, there's usually sometimes as much as a 30-second buffer, so we will let it buff. Let it pause. Yeah, let it buffer. We'll just let it buffer a little bit.
We'll bring our cars in here and just let it buff.
And here we go.
Okay.
Welcome to the celebrated nightly news of Calaveras County.
This is John.
And I'm Sarah.
Yes.
Wait, no.
Whoa, hey.
I'm John and she's Sarah.
I'm Sarah. Yes.
We get that a little
He gets a little confused every once in a while. Exactly. And it's been a day that could be a little confusing.
It has been a busy day. We've been running around all over the place. I guess the top of the local news, this is kind of the law enforcement front, is the local drug enforcement for the sheriffs and the combined Tuolumne County SWAT team, Calaveras County SWAT team, the CAMP, the California Association for Marijuana, whatever. They eradicated 3,000 plants from a marijuana grow over in the McCollum Hill area today.
Yes.
And we were over there at noon because the plan was for them to do phase 2 and go do another grow that had about 4,000 plants.
Yes.
And I think the growers were getting happy feet from all the eradications they'd seen in the area. So the second grow, I guess they took out, which is unusual for these, is they took out all 4,000 plants, root ball and all.
They just ran through.
They basically got a little bit of a heads up or something or an inkling that something was happening.
Something was going on.
And it was interesting talking to because we talked to several of the sheriff's deputies and said that couldn't talk on camera. They were undercover, working the drug enforcement.
Exactly.
The interesting thing is talking about kind of the ecology of these of the marijuana, I guess these plantations, because they truly are, and they said about 95% of this is Mexican nationals, well-organized international international drug gangs, and the fact that, and the thing that was kind of interesting is they actually felt sorry for the guys that actually work these, because they say they're just the workers.
They're just the workers.
In fact, in some instances, they are dropped off at these grows and don't have a vehicle out or anything else. Supplies are dropped to them at a certain spot along the road or something like that on a timed basis.
That's interesting.
Which would make sense because that way it leaves less tracks or notice that somebody's actually in the area.
Yes.
And so what they will do is the growers will do is they'll basically go live with the plants during the cold. And they said and lots of times they're on very terraced, steep inclines, so there's less incidence of. And what they do is they actually have a push pins of areas around the county to where they feel would support the grows or have instances of that. And I guess should we do our little first clip?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the rundown on that is there was about 3,000 plants, but also as they are over their record for the amount of eradication done during a given year, and this is
it's only a little halfway through the year.
Halfway there. So. Anyway, we will roll to that, and we'll be back when it's over. And this is a little interview we did this morning with Sergeant Dave Sewell. He's the Public Information Officer for the Sheriff's Department, and so I guess this is kind of Law Enforcement Day a little bit.
It is, as you will see.
But we'll see you back in a few minutes. Good afternoon. I'm John with the Pine Tree, and I have the real pleasure of being here with Sergeant Dave Sewell.
Nice to see you, John.
Now, I guess there was some exciting stuff we're having this morning, right? And you guys went out and did an eradication. Is that?
Yeah, our narcotics investigators, along with members of the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office SWAT team and agents from the Campaign Against Marijuana Planning, otherwise known as CAMP,
Right.
eradicated the site just outside of Palm Hill.
Okay. Now, is this, you guys have had a good year, isn't this, as far as eradication levels? Is this your, I know the season's not over yet, but you're doing pretty well this year.
Our guys have been extremely busy. We've surpassed our single year record, which is approximately 20,000 plants.
Okay.
And I think we're around 24,000.
Good job. Now, is this, as far as funding for this, is this, because I know for you guys who are sitting on some board meetings, it's always trying to find the funding to keep all the different pieces going. Now, is part of this federally funded as well?
It is. We receive grant funds from DEA as well as the United States Forest Service. And then the narcotics unit functions primarily on a state.
Okay. Now, I guess, how big is the, I don't know if you want to say, but how big is the unit that does this for them? Is it
Full time, I believe we have five guys, which is an increase from what it's been in the past.
okay? Now, is it a typical pattern where you try to do some overflies and try to pen them out and then go back on the ground and do the groundwork? Is that
Typically, and historically, we keep track of where grows have occurred in the past, and
Right.
they go back because water tends to be
It's a good spot.
plentiful.
Yeah.
Exactly. So our guys will use a PIM map, and we track historically what's occurred in the past, and then we'll fly those locations, or we'll do surveillance.
right?
And occasionally we'll get phone calls from concerned citizens or people out hiking or hunting that stumble into these.
Now, is that something that you actively want feedback from the community on? If they see something that just doesn't feel right in some of this stuff, is that
Absolutely.
okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you. I guess there was. I guess it's safe to say that we were expecting a little more excitement this afternoon. They got there first. Huh?
Yeah, they did. And that happens.
Oh, yeah.
That happens.
I mean, because you guys are doing your job well, they're probably getting happy feet, and it's that kind of stuff.
No, it doesn't take much to spook them, and they're highly motivated to get away.
Right. And is typically most of this Mexican nationals then is it?
Yeah, these really large grows, multi-thousand plant grows. Historically, that's been the case.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You bet, John.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, what'd you think? That was
back.
kind of, this is pretty impressive, the work they do here locally. And some other little tidbits that I thought was kind of interesting is we were talking to one of the officers, and they're starting to see more of an actually hybrid pot plant.
That's what you were saying.
So
yes.
these cartels have actually invested or developed special breeds that work better at this. For example, I guess the hybrid they're seeing is more of a lower bush instead of a taller shrub.
Much easier.
You don't know if it's going to be grown indoors or
outdoors
or
in the
concealed.
forests,
It probably makes it more. So it's interesting how sophisticated
they're getting,
this has become.
which sort of plays into the fact that it has a very high street market value. It's a huge amount of money out there.
It's and they were saying is most of it is not even destined to. Very little is destined even to stay in Calaveras County. And the other interesting thing is there's not much. There may be some, but there's not a huge overlap between this and some of the meth problems. It's kind of different.
They're different groups of people, I imagine, and different markets. If you looked at it from a capitalistic... If you're looking at
market segmentation,
exactly.
Yes, we're going to target different...
if you're looking at it from a purely money and capitalistic
what is it?
viewpoint.
If you're targeting the mellow ones or the tweakers?
Exactly. Which ones you exactly targeting? But that actually presents a problem for the narcotics enforcement unit. Because then they have to actually have completely different plans to deal with the two problems.
Right. On these eradications, one group will come over and help the other group. But I thought it was interesting to where, for example, the one that they caught some processed stuff. I think it was a car a year or so ago that had 40 pounds in it, and they found that was destined for Merced. So probably to be distributed down in that area.
In Central Valley.
Yeah. So most of the stuff is
it's relatively close, though.
Yeah. And another thing is the differences in the grows appear, like for example the ones down in the valley, they're basically done in cornfields and different things, so there's different tactics for different regions.
And for covering up the crops.
So that's it. That's it for the pod news today.
Exactly. And Sheriff's Department is actually sort of the news story for today.
Yes, it
is. It's their day. And if you tuned in to see us last night, you knew that there was a special meeting for the Board of Supervisors called for today at 1 o'clock in the board chambers, specifically to discuss a general obligation bond for the new jail facility and a 911 dispatch center. Now, this general bond obligation was slated to go on the ballot on November 6th, and the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed this general bond obligation to go on the ballot, which is, in recent memory, this is like unheard of.
I guess as a question,
do not pass these
without
things.
editorializing too much, but you know from watching the board stuff as well, doesn't this seem like there comes a moment that you can actually get stuff like this just done, just get it done? And this seems like we're pretty close to, doesn't it?
It was
seem
brought
like
in.
things are
It was
lining
brought
up?
in as a special meeting, and it was brought in on a minute order because it has to be in by August 10th.
Right.
And the particular proposition has to be in by August 10th.
Sure.
And to get it on the ballot for next year, because these things take a lot of time. But what it is, it's actually $31 million worth of general bond obligations.
That's a lot of bondage.
It is, it is a lot of bondage. But it actually pays for specific items, and it will provide funding for a new jail,
Right.
911 dispatch facilities, and also a sheriff's office, which will be connected to the new jail. And what's interesting about this is that of that $31 million, $10 million will actually is earmarked for the new jail, and it will allow the county to then apply for a jail match grant from the state of 75%.
So they may not need as much of this bond as anticipated?
Well, they'll need the whole thing, which is what I was about to say. The $10 million of the $31 million will be
jumped
earmarked.
in too quick.
Exactly. Will be earmarked for the jail and will be used as a 25% match.
Okay.
To apply for the state grant funding. And if they get the grant funding, which they can apply for in January, the state will then provide $30 million towards that jail facility.
Yeah.
And the remainder of that $31 million is actually for the 911 dispatch center and the sheriff's office and other miscellaneous bond insurance costs associated with it. Now, the thing with bond assessments, it's essentially a loan. It needs to be paid back. It's a general bond assessment, so it will come out of property taxes. And what they're thinking at this time is that an average of, it's on assessed property value. So, so the cost will be an average of $18.29 per $100,000 of assessed value.
Right. So if you're, and I think there's a formula where it wasn't going to go over $20 per $100,000.
Exactly.
So if you have a $400,000 house, you're looking at $80.
Yes.
A year.
Approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, a little less than 80, actually.
You know, is being instinctively a fiscal conservative. Maybe not personally, but but I think that this one is an interesting one. The fact that the county is becoming a target right now for low-level, non-violent crime because there's not the incentive or the place to hold them. So I think that this is one instance to where we need a jail.
Well, we've needed a jail for many, many years.
Yeah.
And Sheriff Downham has been, he's been tireless in his advocacy for a new jail. For years he's been going to the state legislature and our local representatives in the state legislature who have all tried actually quite hard to get jail funding. But of course, as you know, the budget situation in the state has not been very good, so there's not any extra money.
What budget?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They don't have a budget. What are you talking about?
Exactly. What was interesting, though, is that they did hire a firm to basically poll Calaveras County residents to see if they would support a new jail or bond funding for the jail.
Isn't it safe to say that this poll will provide us fodder for the next week?
The next week, exactly. And what's interesting is what they did is they geographically separated out a sample of 500 voters of the 21,000 registered voters in the county, and they asked them a list of questions. And overwhelmingly, like 90+%, and I have the percentages here, but
we have other quotes as well.
We have other quotes as well.
Some will even have to bleep.
Exactly. But let me get to this. 90% of the population feel that the early release of inmates is an urgent situation.
Right.
What's interesting about that question is the longer you've been in the county,
the more you understand it.
Exactly, the more urgent the situation is. But what it also provided was a forum for people to make comments on not only the Sheriff's Department crime and drug treatment, but also taxes, Board of Supervisors, and alternative funding ideas for the jail, and county department issues. So I'm just going to go through a little bit. Today we'll just focus on the bond issue. And
see, if we have time at the end, we'll come back and start rattling these off, right?
But it was interesting. 52 people made
just
comments.
As a question, should we go to the clip with him and then come back
Mike
and do
Walker.
that? Yeah,
you
we
know,
have
I have to preface
it
this clip.
It doesn't sound
this
that
clip.
bad.
I am a huge Mike Walker fan.
So she had the butterflies.
I had butterflies when I was talking to Mike Walker. He's a great guy. He's very intelligent. He knows, he's got it going on.
And he was recently in England.
So you say.
I think so.
But anyway, on this clip, because I'm a real big Mike Walker fan, I sort of stutter a little bit. Yes,
She's
I'm all at Twitter. So you must forgive me for my Twitterness. So anyway,
and this was just after the vote.
This was right
this
after
was
the
taken
vote.
just in front of the sheriff's office in San Andreas this afternoon.
Yes.
Just like real nightly news. We have clips
from
here we go.
Except you have
now I jinxed.
Twittering reporters.
Yes, now I jinxed it. It's going to hang before it comes back. So here we go.
Let's roll.
We're here with Calaveras County Under Sheriff Mike Walker right after the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed, if I can speak, a bond measure to go on the November 6th election to fund a new jail facility and a 911 dispatch center. And what do you think about this happening in Calaveras County, of all places?
Obviously, we're very excited. This is another step that we needed to take to get, in line for jail funding to the state. It's the first time since I've been a member of the Sheriff's Office that we've had any kind of a bond measure that goes before the voters for the support, and I think that it's very exciting, and I think that it bodes well for our jail project.
And the jail project may be available, or actually state funds may be available for a matching element.
That's what we're anticipating.
Okay.
We're anticipating that we will be able to receive 75% of the funding through the state.
Okay.
And that this bond will make up that 25% match that we need to build the new jail.
Okay. And the other facilities will be tacked onto that then?
Yes. The other facilities that would be a part of this, obviously we're standing in front of the Sheriff's Office jail. It is one complex that supports, it's a mutual supporting operation. So this bond covers that also. So it's a total project that covers us completely.
So it's how much is it totally?
The bond we'll be seeking to be $31 million.
Okay, and that will...
And as you can see, I was all at Twitter.
Yeah.
But yes, Under Sheriff Walker definitely has a lot of information contained in this.
And we will be talking more on this. The other one is it okay to mention, I guess last year during the Chamber of Commerce's leadership group, they had one of their project for that whole thing was jail funding.
Yes.
So you'll see a lot. We'll probably have, in coming up to November, it's probably going to be full-on press by them to make sure that the public is aware of the magnitude of the issues.
Exactly. So, now, I do want to read off some of the comments. Exactly. Some quotes from Calaveras County residents in these different, actually, issue areas and what their comments were. Now, they were asked about jail, sheriff's department, crime, and drug treatment, and some of the comments was the need for a better jail needs to be addressed strongly. Inmates are being released too early.
Right.
Another thing was fund the jail. The deputies don't even have enough room to park their cars. Boy, that is the truth. And actually, right on the heels of that, you can actually take a jail tour.
Yes, and they're going to open that up.
At any time, obviously you have to make an appointment, call the sheriff's department.
Or just do something bad.
You don't want to do that. The Sheriff Downham, is making this available to community residents so that you can see how bad the jail facility actually is. I've taken a tour of the facility, and it's not.
It's sobering. It really is.
It is. And
There's a lot of blind alleys, little pockets of
yes,
stuff.
and it's not safe for the law enforcement personnel that's in there. It really isn't, or even the inmates.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, another quote in this particular section was, "We need a jail, so find a way to fund it."
Yes.
And let's see here. Build a new jail, keep prisoners in longer so they stop being criminals.
There you go.
There you go. And also, there's a couple other sections I want to touch on, and bond measures, quotes on bond measures. Big concern for amount of indebtedness and current mismanagement of funds. Government needs to be more efficient, reduce regulations and redundancy. And another quote under bond measures is all unimproved parcels should not have to pay a bond for services, which is sort of interesting.
That makes sense.
That is a very common argument in Calaveras County, and I'm sure in other in other counties as well. And also, this is sort of interesting, Calaveras County has been way too conservative in floating long-term bonds for infrastructure and buildings, which inhibits reasonable public services and general prosperity. We need a new jail, and we need to budget for the bond for a jail. So it's sort of interesting, the comments that people get, and the representative who actually, I can't pronounce his name very well. I'll try.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting on some of these consultants is the consultants in some instances won't get paid unless this bond passes.
Well, that's the council. That's bond council.
Oh, bond council.
Yes.
They're working on commission.
The representative, exactly. The representative who, from the company who did the study, Gig Tayo, I just massacred his name, said that when Calaveras County residents were asked, they had a lot to say.
Yes, they did.
He seemed to indicate that they had a lot more to say than most counties, and that they were very well informed.
Well, okay, this is a dumb thing too, and I was talking to a friend that lives in another county. Is, for one thing, we're a small county, so that the county government, since most of the county is not incorporated, is not within city limits, what the county does probably has a disproportionate influence in Calaveras County as in some, maybe.
That's true, because the cities would take over
muted.
that role
some of the influence is muted.
areas.
I mean, because for here, boy, Board of Supervisors on Tuesdays, that's the show.
It is. It is.
So, I mean, typically you got the big, so that's the show of...
It definitely is.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
So
we'll actually go over more comments as the week goes on.
There's some fun ones.
There's some really fun ones, and some we will have to bleep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we will have to bleep them.
We will have to bleep them because people definitely have their opinions. But actually, state news, budget impasse is still on.
Yeah.
Still haven't passed a budget, and some headlines actually from the state is Partisans' Furies alive and well. Remember post-partisanship? As Arnold Schwarzenegger began his second gubernatorial
post-partisan
term
depression?
last January, he proclaimed it to be California's new political credo. And we're thinking that's not true right now.
We're having post-partisanship depression.
Exactly,
right? Yes.
Exactly. And also, voting machines are coming under criticism from a UC study.
The electronic ones?
Yes. Makers of voting machines battle critics over UC study. County election officials and makers of voting machines squared off Monday against Secretary of State Deborah Bowen and critics of electronic voting in a hearing that could determine how the February 5th presidential primary election is run.
Yeah, they better get it dialed in. Huh?
Exactly. And they may end up decertifying a lot of these touchscreen machines that they just installed.
bought.
And paid a lot
of
of money
money.
for. And it's
Lot of
worth
money.
noting that here in Calaveras County, they had to replace all the machines, all the voting booths, and there has never been a problem with voting in this county.
Right.
So all that money.
Because
never
one
a
good thing
problem.
is we can almost still do it on our fingers.
Almost. Almost, yes.
Just kidding, just kidding. Couple
I
little
tell ya,
national
he's
news.
something
Couple little
else.
national news things. Oil settled above $78, setting a record today for a record high. Also, looks like another big mortgage company is heading into liquidatorship.
Yes.
And also, it looks like it's just about a done deal. Rupert Murdoch is getting closer to the Wall Street Journal.
That'll be an
There
interesting
we go.
takeover.
So it'll be interesting.
I bet the reporters aren't happy about that.
Yeah. And I guess on the offbeat news of the day, let's see. A lot of vegans now are saying that they will not have sexual relationships with people who eat meat.
That just is just...
If you're a carnivore,
You better not date a vegan.
you better not date a vegan. See, this goes at a whole... Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
So,
In other words,
there's another
vegans and
divide.
carnivores
Vegans are going to
shall
procreate
not-
amongst themselves, and carnivores will procreate amongst themselves, right?
That'll create some interesting data pools.
Right.
What do
It
you
will.
think about it?
We better go to weather. Yeah. Because one of the things is, in doing a simulcast web and cable, is we haven't got our sign-off cue early. So we're probably going to cue out just a touch early, and then we'll just chat and do outtakes and stuff, because there's that buffering
There's the
thing,
buffering
right?
lag, yes.
All right.
And eventually John will say that so much that you will be able to repeat it verbatim.
Okay, I won't say it much more. All right. For Arnold weather, low of 68 tonight with a high of 92 tomorrow. Low of 67 with a high of 89 on Thursday with a 20% chance of thunderstorms. Slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow night. Friday, high of 87. Low of 62 Friday night. And a high Saturday of 85 degrees.
Wow, okay. Bear Valley weather. Wednesday, slight chance of thunderstorms, 20%, 85 degrees. That's warm for up there. Thursday, 20% slight chance of thunderstorms, 20%, high of 82 degrees. Friday, 80 degrees. And 78 degrees on Saturday.
There we go. And if we go
it's
down
hot in Murphy's.
Murphy's Angels Camp. Oh, see, I guess there's minor variations between Murphy's and Angels Camp
Yes,
in San
there are.
Andreas. We're probably going to lump them together for the sake of
Are we going to lump for brevity?
for brevity, because there's
Okay.
maybe a degree or two change, and lots of times Murphy's is actually warmer.
Yes. Why don't I do that and you look for the Valley Springs and Copperopolis?
I will do
weather?
so.
Okay.
I've already got Bangor made.
Murphy's, Wednesday, hot. A high of 100 degrees. Thursday, hot again at 97 degrees. Friday, 95 degrees. And Saturday, we are looking at 93 degrees. And it's essentially the same. It's like 2 or 3 degrees cooler for Angels Camp. Angels Camp, Wednesday at 97 degrees. Thursday, 94 degrees. Friday at 92 degrees. And Saturday at 90 degrees.
All right.
And we're looking for Valley Springs weather or Copperopolis weather right now. Vagaries of the internet.
All right. Okay. Here we go. Valley Springs weather. Well, we can do
Hot.
hot. It just says hot.
Just says hot.
So it says tomorrow 100. Low of 64, high of 97 on Thursdays, high of 95 on Fridays, and actually a little bit of a cooling trend going into the weekend.
That's true. That's what's going on
Yeah.
everywhere in the county. It's a couple degrees
Couple
cooler.
degrees
in-
cooler,
in-
couple
on
degrees
the
cooler,
weekends,
and
which is
Bangor,
kinda
Maine
nice.
weather. 85, 84 degrees with a little bit of rain right now.
Mm-hmm.
85 degrees on Wednesday, 87 degrees on Thursday, and 85 on Friday.
Wow.
And we want to thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate you stopping by the news.
Definitely.
Each day we'll try to get a little better.
That's
Fun
right.
stuff.
Fun
Sound
stuff.
should be improved. Start mixing in more video clips.
And we'll give you a little bit more information on what people in Calaveras County said when they were polled about
there was some
county
really
departments, board of
interesting
supervisors, exactly,
Right.
taxes.
Did they poll on the news? Is there any more we can go out with?
Yeah, we can go out with taxes. I'm getting taxed too much already and don't support any tax gains. And another one was to review where is the tax money now, how is it being used, and we have so little being done, and why.
Right.
And look at a hotel tax. A lot of crime comes from out of the county, and expenses could be offset by visitors as well as residents.
But they haven't taught the transient tax.
They do, but they want, this person sounds like they want to increase it. And lay off parcel taxes and make sure rental people pay their share too.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. And we'll leave you with, leave me alone and don't increase my taxes.
That probably is a sentiment for some people,
For
quite a people in the county.
lot of people.
Quite a people in the county, because we still are a rural county.
We are a rural county. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good night.
And did you see, let's see, was there any fun little...
Did you see this about Oprah?
Judge Roberts is out of the hospital.
That's right.
What about Oprah?
Let's see. Doubleday publisher slams sanctimonious Oprah, appalled at talk queen's lack of basic manners.
Well.
Yes, so let's click on that.
And there's also another one where NBC producer died in a building plunge.
Yeah, apparently he jumped off. Didn't he jump off?
Yeah.
That was my understanding.
Oh,
this is a video. So we don't
yeah, that machine will probably...
Yeah, my machine will just about crash.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So...
Well, I think we've had enough little buffering.
That's right. Naked mannequins upset Florida town.
Naked mannequins?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they should have been female mannequins, and they wouldn't have...
That's right. They wouldn't have been upset.
Yes. It goes back to the basic premise of the male lumpy...
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
you know,
no.
it's...
Okay, we need to sign off on that one. I tell you, we don't want to talk... Oh, no. We don't want to talk about that.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.